Imagine standing on a vast frozen plain. The wind howls across an endless sea of snow. Towering walls of ice stretch to the horizon. Temperatures are far below freezing. Nothing moves except swirling snow carried by powerful Arctic winds. This may sound like a scene from another world, but it isn't. This is Earth, our planet. A world that, millions of years ago, entered one of the most dramatic periods in its history. A time when glaciers covered enormous portions of the planet. A time when sea levels dropped, climates changed, and life was forced to adapt or perish. We call this period the Ice Age. But how did it begin? How did a planet once covered by lush forests and warm oceans transform into a frozen kingdom of ice? What forces were powerful enough to reshape entire continents? And how did life survive one of nature's greatest challenges? To answer these questions, we must travel back millions of years into Earth's distant past, long before mammoths roamed the frozen tundra, long before saber-toothed cats stalked their prey across snowy landscapes, long before human beings learned to survive in harsh winter environments. The story begins with a very different Earth, an Earth that was warmer, greener, and filled with thriving ecosystems. Forests stretched across vast regions of the globe. Rivers carved their way through fertile landscapes. The oceans were alive with extraordinary creatures. Mammals were expanding into new environments after the extinction of the dinosaurs. Life seemed to be flourishing everywhere. At first glance, nothing suggested that a frozen future was waiting just beyond the horizon. But beneath this peaceful appearance, powerful geological processes were already changing the planet. The continents were moving, mountain ranges were rising, ocean currents were shifting, and deep within Earth's atmosphere, subtle changes were beginning to alter the balance of heat that had sustained life for millions of years. No single event caused the Ice Age. There was no sudden catastrophe, no giant explosion, no single day when the world abruptly froze. Instead, it was a slow transformation, a change so gradual that no living creature could have noticed it during its lifetime. Yet over millions of years, these tiny changes would combine to create one of the greatest climate shifts in Earth's history. A transformation that would turn our planet into a frozen world. And this was only the beginning. Before Earth became a frozen world, it was a very different place. Millions of years ago, vast forests covered much of the planet. Warm temperatures allowed plants and animals to thrive across enormous landscapes. Rivers flowed through fertile valleys, and the oceans carried heat around the globe, creating a relatively stable climate. Life was flourishing. The dinosaurs had disappeared long ago, and mammals were rapidly evolving to fill the empty spaces they left behind. Some lived in dense forests, others roamed open grasslands, and a few even returned to the oceans, eventually giving rise to whales and dolphins. It was a time of opportunity and expansion. But while life prospered on the surface, powerful forces were at work beneath it. The continents continued their slow journey across the planet. Mountain ranges rose higher, altering weather patterns and rainfall. Ocean currents gradually changed direction, affecting how heat moved around the world. At first, these changes seemed insignificant. No animal could have noticed them. No forest could have predicted what was coming. Yet over millions of years, these small changes began to reshape Earth's climate. The warm world that had existed for so long was slowly changing. A new era was approaching, an era of colder temperatures, growing glaciers, and dramatic environmental transformation. The age of ice was drawing nearer. Earth did not enter the Ice Age overnight. The change began slowly, over millions of years. One major reason was a decrease in carbon dioxide, a gas that helps keep our planet warm. As carbon dioxide levels fell, Earth gradually started losing more heat than it retained. At the same time, continents continued their slow movement across the globe. Mountain ranges rose higher, and natural weathering processes removed even more carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. The oceans were changing too. Powerful ocean currents, which transport heat around the world, began to shift as the continents moved. Some regions received less warmth than before, causing temperatures to slowly decline. The cooling was so gradual that no animal could notice it during its lifetime. But year after year, and million after million years, the effects continued to grow. Earth was approaching a turning point. Soon, the first permanent ice sheets would begin to form, changing the planet forever. The first major sign of Earth's transformation appeared at the southern end of the planet. Antarctica was not always the frozen continent we know today. Millions of years ago, it supported forests, rivers, and a surprising variety of life. But as Earth's climate continued to cool, Antarctica became increasingly isolated from the rest of the world. A powerful ocean current began circling the continent, creating a barrier that prevented warm tropical waters from reaching its shores. Without this supply of heat, temperatures across Antarctica dropped dramatically. Snowfall increased. Winter ice remained on the ground for longer periods. Over time, layers of snow accumulated faster than they could melt. The weight of these layers compressed the snow beneath them, transforming it into solid ice. Century after century, the ice grew thicker. The frozen landscape expanded across the continent. What had once been a green environment was gradually replaced by vast fields of ice. This marked a turning point in Earth's climate history. For the first time in millions of years, a permanent ice sheet had formed. Antarctica had become Earth's frozen fortress, and its growing ice would soon influence the climate of the entire planet. As the climate grew colder, life across the planet faced a new reality. Habitats that had existed for millions of years began to change. Forests shrank in many regions, while open grasslands expanded across vast areas of land. For many animals, survival meant adapting to a rapidly changing environment. Some species migrated in search of food and warmer conditions. Others evolved new features that helped them endure the cold. Thicker fur provided protection against freezing temperatures. Larger bodies helped conserve heat. New feeding strategies emerged as plants and ecosystems changed. The struggle for survival became more intense. Predators had to adapt to new hunting grounds. Herbivores had to find food in increasingly harsh conditions. Those unable to adjust gradually disappeared from the landscape. Yet for some animals, the Ice Age created new opportunities. The expanding grasslands supported large grazing mammals. Powerful new species began to appear, each uniquely suited to life in a colder world. Nature was reshaping itself. The frozen environment was no longer just a challenge. It was becoming the stage for a remarkable new chapter in evolution. Soon, these icy lands would be home to some of the most extraordinary creatures ever to walk the earth. As thousands of years passed, the transformation became impossible to ignore. Across vast regions of the northern hemisphere, glaciers advanced over mountains, valleys, and plains. Some ice sheets grew so large that they were several kilometers thick. Their immense weight reshaped the land beneath them, carving valleys, forming lakes, and altering entire landscapes. Sea levels also began to fall. With enormous amounts of water trapped in glaciers, coastlines expanded, and new land bridges appeared between regions that are now separated by oceans. The world was becoming colder, drier, and more challenging. Yet life continued to endure. Across the frozen tundra, hardy plants adapted to the harsh conditions. Mosses, grasses, and small shrubs covered the icy plains. These tough plants became the foundation of a new ecosystem. Large herbivores gathered in growing numbers to feed on the vast grasslands, and where prey thrived, predators soon followed. A unique world was taking shape. A world unlike anything Earth had seen before. A world of endless snow-covered plains, powerful winds, and extraordinary animals. The Ice Age had transformed the planet, but its most famous inhabitants were still to come. Soon, enormous creatures would dominate these frozen landscapes. Giants whose survival stories would become some of the most remarkable chapters in Earth's history. The Ice Age had transformed Earth into a world of extremes. Vast glaciers dominated the landscape. Powerful winds swept across endless plains. Survival depended on strength, endurance, and adaptation. Yet, despite these harsh conditions, life did not disappear. It evolved. Across the frozen tundra, a new generation of giants began to emerge. Some grew larger to conserve heat. Others developed thick coats of fur to withstand the bitter cold. The icy world became home to remarkable creatures unlike any that had come before. Among them were giant deer with enormous antlers, woolly rhinoceroses built for life on the frozen plains, and powerful predators that ruled the snowy wilderness. But one animal would come to symbolize the entire Ice Age, a giant whose footsteps echoed across continents, a creature perfectly adapted to a world of ice and snow, covered in a thick coat of shaggy fur, equipped with layers of insulating fat, armed with enormous curved tusks that could reach several meters in length. The woolly mammoth. For thousands of years, these magnificent animals would roam the frozen grasslands of Europe, Asia, and North America. They would survive blizzards, predators, and dramatic climate shifts. Their story is one of adaptation, survival, and eventual extinction. And it is a story that begins in the frozen world we have explored today. The Ice Age had arrived. But the age of the mammoths was only beginning.